Got him. That little Nico rig. You know, look at that. Ooh, I barely got him hooked in that. He's just a little guy. Get in here. Throwing up by the reeds a little bit. Throwing that Nico rig's a lot of fun. You know, when these fish get pressured, that's just a little guy, but we'll throw him back. I'm gonna have to put on another worm for sure. He ripped my worm up. But we're at Saguaro Lake today, folks, and when the fish get really pressured, the wind's picking up a little bit, which we kind of didn't want. What we wanted was to see the lake stay slick. With everybody pressuring the lake so much, sometimes you have to downsize, and that Nico rig's a lot of fun to throw. And it's kind of a fun deal where you put the weight inside the worm and you kind of rig it wacky style, and fish will bite it, and fish really go after it. But the deal is I use a drop shot rod. You know, I'm using my Johnny Johnson signature drop shot rod, and I'm using a 20-pound braid line so I can get it out. The braid allows you to cast this thing a long ways, and I'm just using a little drop shot hook. It's a 1/0 drop shot hook, and what I'm doing is I'm sticking a little 4-inch worm on it. You can use a 6-inch, 4-inch, just depends on what you want to throw. I like these Arizona custom bait worms. This is the Oxblood Deluxe, and you basically hook this thing up wacky style, but I'm hooking it where it's somewhat weedless, and I'm going to stick the hook where when I pull it right in there like so. Do you see how I've got the hook? And then what I'll do is I'll end up putting the weight right inside the worm. I'm going to take a little nail weight, I'm going to put it inside the worm, and then when I set the hook, the hook will come right through the plastic and grab the fish. But a lot of times, man, I'm telling you, those fish just smack it. Now you can get tungsten weights. You can do the lead or the tungsten. Lead's a little bit cheaper, those little nail weights. But man, this thing throws out there so nice. I like to throw these kind of worms weightless a lot of times if you're in real shallow water, little breeze blowing. Then you could throw it the Nico style where you throw the little weight in the head. Throw it out there on 6-pound test line, and man, these fish, they will hit this bait. It's a lot of fun to throw, and it's really finesse, a lot of finesse. But the thing is as you're twitching the bait, it really looks like a night crawler or something down there, and they just eat it up. Got him on that bait. Come on, baby. Little Texas rig there. Saguaro Lake bass. Oh, there he goes. Catch and release. Folks, I'm throwing that little ABC brush hog, man. I'll tell you what a little bait. It's got a little red flake in it, watermelon red flake. It's a 4.5 inch, something small, because I didn't want to throw nothing really, really big, Texas rigging around, and throwing it on my heavy gear. And I'm just kind of, you know, big fish are moving up in the shallows this time of year, and you know, everything's bedding, and it's hard to see with the wind blowing and stuff, but you know, you can always pick up a Texas rig and just start kind of fan casting these shallows like this and drag it real slow. Sometimes you can get those fish to bite. That was a good 2-pounder. And, you know, so that's what I'll do. You know, with cloud cover and all that, sometimes it just gets too hard to see. So what you can do, take off the white stuff because you don't need it, you can't really see it, and just kind of fan cast the area and just start bringing your bait in real slow. And I'll tell you what, sometimes you'll be really, you might get a big bite doing this for sure, because you don't know what's coming, but you might drag it across that bed or put it right in that area where they want. But you need to really fan cast these cuts like this and just kind of work real slow and just drag it. I just threw it up on the bank and dragged it out, and he bit. It's a fun way to fish when you can't see them and you're trying so hard and you're upset because the wind's blowing. The fish are still there, they're not gone, but if you can't see them, just back out and fan cast the area, see if you can catch them. You know the fish are there. We saw a whole lot of beds and stuff when the water was, you know, sun was out and the water wasn't all wavy, and so I'm just gonna do that and see what happens. Some fish aren't gonna bite. There's some fish you have to play with, but get the aggressive ones on this Texas rig. And I throw a 3/8 ounce sinker on this as well, bullet weight. I'm throwing 17-pound test line, and I'm just dragging it on the bottom. That's all I'm doing. Something a little bit small, just so I can get the little males or something to bite. Oh, he might have taken one of my tails. Nope, it's there. But this is an awesome little bait. And of course, watermelon red flake is always a good color for this kind of water. You know, clear water, it's beautiful. So the fish are here. You just gotta fan cast it out there. And I love the way this sinks to the bottom real quick and just drag it. I don't even bother lifting it off the bottom, because you do want it to drag across the bed, you know. Oh, no, I didn't. That's a good one, too. Ah, yeah. Come on. No, 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 no. You're done. You're done. You're done. You're done. You're done. We'll get you in. By golly, if I could ever reach over and grab him. Look at that. Hammered that thing on the way out. I was crawling it up this way off the point, looking around, and he smashed it. Didn't even see him hit it. That's the cool thing. Like I say, when you get the cloud cover and all that, you can still get up and look a little bit, but I'll tell you, I'll just Texas rig something I think they'll eat. Ah, there we go. There you go, buddy. Beautiful fish. That's a 2-pounder. Yeah. It's not all lost as long as you know that the fish are shallow. You can still get them. It's not quite as fun as being able to see them, but as long as you're casting around, like I say, in the shallows, there's beds there. He smacked it right in front of the boat while I was over looking at something else. There's something about watermelon red flake. If you're gonna throw anything, either a green pumpkin or a watermelon red flake, man, is a good color. Love those colors. Gotta have them. I'm just hooking it up weedless. And I'm using, because that bait is so small, I'm only using a 2/0 wide gap hook. Now you can use a offset shank 2/0 or 3/0, but the bait's kind of small because it's real thin, but it still has great leg action and all that. It works great. So I'm gonna turn around, go back up through there. This is a big flat right up in here, so you can cast just about anywhere and probably drag it over something good. You know, I use a heavy action rod when I'm throwing this kind of stuff. I'm throwing 17-pound test line, heavy action rod, because what's cool about doing this too is you can flip it up in the brush if you think the fish are up in there. There's nothing more fun than throwing up in there and hearing the reeds rattle. That's for sure when you're doing this kind of fishing. Got him. Oh yeah, that's a nice one. Oh, he's got another one chasing him. Oh, look at that. Come on, son. You are an aggressive little dude. Easy, 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 easy. Ah! Ah, look at that fish. Beautiful Saguaro Lake bass. Throw right up in the tules. Right up along those tules. I saw that dude roaming around in there. I'm like, hey, we might be able to get us one in there. That was a nice fish, folks. You know, I'm one for always thinking, oh, when that wind blows in the spring, I hate it. In the clear water, it's not so bad though, because you can still see the fish roaming. You can still see, you know, where the beds are all at and all that stuff. But flipping up in the brush, you know that there's lots of beds usually made around the brush piles and stuff like that. So, you know, you see a bare spot there, obviously. I can't see anything really on it. The wind blowing in, we're kind of sheltered a little bit, but I just thought I'd throw up in there and see, and there he was. That's when you need that 17-pound test line. You know, when you're throwing up in this stuff, you want to use that heavy line, 17 plus or braid or something. But with as clear as the water is, and I'm kind of fishing the outskirts of it, I kind of like just using the 17-pound test line. Toss into the bush, nothing but fish. Come on, you're done. You're done. Had to flip that little thing right up into the brush pile. I'll tell you what, man. These things are a lot of fun to fish when you get into this brush. Something never to overlook, especially when you're going back to cuts, is you're gonna have some areas, especially on Saguaro, that has good little drop-offs. But every once in a while, you'll see a little flat on it. And we got a little flat right here, even though we're in an area where it's more bluffy. And it's got a little flat on it. And that little tiny flat, the fish was just hanging around that. And I had to get it up under, I had to actually throw it up underneath a brush pile there to get him. But he was there. He only bit it twice. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, I'll tell you. You know, that heavier sinker, when you go to that 3/8 ounce, you can go to lighter stuff and try weightless stuff, but when you're having the wind and everything that we have, a lot of times that heavier sinker gets it right down there. So, and it helps you also to be able to pitch up underneath with a bait caster up underneath some of these brush piles that are overhangs and stuff. You can get a little bit more weight, get a little bit more skip underneath there with it. But I do pretty well with it. I like having the heavy weight, and then plus when you know they're on beds this time of year, it's going right down there to them. Watermelon red flake, beautiful color. That translucent color or whatever it is with that green, they can't stand it. And remember that this time of year, bass are gonna hit bluegill, anything that comes through their area right now. So anything that you got a little green on, a little chartreuse on, anything like that is gonna work really well up in the shallows this time of year. Even a little blue. So that kind of stuff right there will really work well this time of year, because the bass can't stand it. And you'll actually sometimes even get a harder hit with anything with a little chartreuse or blue in it. Hey folks, for my tip of the week, I got a couple of things for you. First and foremost, anytime that you're fishing a high pressure lake like a Saguaro gets, don't be afraid, especially in the springtime, to find areas that a lot of boats aren't going to. Because I'm telling you, those areas might not be the best pick spots, but they've become gold mines for me in the past. And just fishing areas that nobody has really touched too much, those fish haven't been messed with at all, and those areas might be the area that might pull off the big one. The other tip is whenever you're doing shallow water fishing, it's very important to be sure that when you're on your big motor, back off clear enough back to where you can drop your trolling motor and move in quietly. You want to be stealthy when you get into these shallow fish. It helps you a lot. You can catch them quicker. They're not so spooky. And that's a big tip right there. Because if you pull right in on them, drop the trolling motor and just jump right up on it, you're going to spook the fish. He knows you're there. So the thing is, be a little more stealthy. You know, give yourself some time, use your trolling motor, scoot in on them, and you're gonna catch more bass. Again, I'm putting a bobber stopper on this, just so you know, because I have to change out my bait. They tore my watermelons, my watermelon red flake ACB brush hog up. That thing right there is, look at the colors in that. I don't know if the sun, I don't even know if the camera does the thing justice. It's really cool looking. But I'm gonna put the bobber stop, and I'm also, because I'm using tungsten, gonna put a bobber stop underneath the tungsten weight. Now I'm using a bead so I can get that click. It's still, the bead still hits the tungsten a little bit, and I still get that click, but at least that tungsten's not cutting everything and cutting my knot and all that. So then I'm gonna go ahead and put this on, 2/0 wide gap hook. And you have to remember something, that you've got steeper water a lot on Saguaro Lake. We have a lot of steeper water. A lot of guys go into the backs where it's all flat, but remember, some of the areas that are kind of being untouched, but you're gonna have to kind of flip underneath them, and that's why I like this heavier sinker, this 3/8 ounce, is flip under this brush right here on some of these bluffier areas. The good news is that some of these bluffier areas have little shallow flats on them as well that just kind of go out a little bit. So, you know, you'll be able to find a rock or something that the fish will spawn on, and they hang up underneath that. So you'll have a steep bluff, and then you'll have a little embankment come out that's kind of flat, and that kind of stuff right there they'll hang on. But a lot of guys like to just get up and fish the flats, which I do too. But when you run out of room and you run out of places to go and everybody's fishing them on a tight lake like this, you can hit some of these secondary areas and still catch your fish in shallow water, even though it looks bluffy. You just got to look for those ledges. That's what you call getting them out of the trees, baby. He looked bigger than that down there. He was in those bulrushes, that's for sure. I'll tell you what, folks, you have got to try doing this. You know, you can throw the white craws, things like that, when you can really see them, when the light level goes low. And I just like to kind of cast. You can still see the beds and stuff, but once in a while, when the sun peeks through a cloud or something, I can see them. But throwing in there, flipping in there, something natural colored makes me feel a lot more comfortable a lot of times too, if I can get away with it. And I do that. But I'll tell you what, you can't beat a Texas rig. You have got to try it and do a little flipping in the brush, because you know those big fish will be in there too. And I'll tell you, you'll have a lot of fun with this Arizona Custom Baits brush hog. I'll tell you, it's awesome. Watermelon red flake on Saguaro Lake. You're gonna catch a lot of fish on it. Good luck to you. We'll see you on the water. I'm Johnny Johnson.
Now, see, that's what I'm talking about, folks.